You know, when most of us think about poker, we picture big bluffs, lucky cards, and high-stakes drama. But what if I told you that for the absolute best players in the world, it's something way, way deeper? Today, we're diving into poker not just as a card game, but as this incredible exercise in philosophy and mental toughness, all through the lens of a fascinating lesson between a pro and his student. So, let's get right to it. What is it really? Is it just the luck of the draw, or is there something else going on inside the minds of the greats? We're going to explore the mental frameworks that the best players use to handle the wild swings of the game. And spoiler alert, it has a lot less to do with getting lucky than you probably think.
All right, so before we even get into hands and strategies, let's pull back and look at the big picture. Because there's this foundational philosophy, this mindset, that separates the true masters from, well, everybody else at the table. This right here, this is the absolute core of it all. See, the pros know they can't control whether they win or lose a specific pot. That's just not up to them. What they can control is their process, their analysis, the quality of every single decision they make, hand after hand after hand.
So, what is this big philosophy? Well, it turns out it has a ton in common with an ancient school of thought, Stoicism. And no, this isn't about being some emotionless robot. It's about staying stable and clear-headed, whether you're stacking up chips or taking a really bad beat.
And check this out, this quote from the poker teacher. It's just pure practical wisdom. He's basically telling his student, hey, stop worrying about the one card that's about to come. You can't change it. Focus on your strategy, your play. It's Stoicism, plain and simple, applied right there at the felt.
The entire mental game this teacher preaches is built on this one simple, powerful idea, the dichotomy of control. It's like a filter for your brain. You ask yourself, can I do anything about this? If the answer is no, you have to learn to let it go.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. Your analysis, your strategy, your focus, how you handle a loss, that's your world. You own that. But the next card off the deck, what your opponent is holding, that lucky river card, that's all happening outside of your control. The master player lives on the left side of this slide and just accepts what happens on the right.
Okay, so we've got the theory down, right? The big idea. But how does this actually work at the table? Well, now we get to move from the abstract into a very real, very practical mental workout. The teacher puts his student through this intense drill, training him to see one of the most common threats on the board, the straight.
So, picture this. You're in a hand. The dealer flips over the first three community cards, the flop, and you see a jack, a 7, and a 6. Instantly, a pro's brain starts firing, calculating all the possibilities. And one of the first things they're looking for is how easily someone could make a straight.
Now, a straight draw just means you're one card away from hitting a 5-card straight. Simple enough? But here's the key lesson from the teacher. Not all draws are created equal. In fact, there are two very, very different kinds.
So first up, you have what's called an open-ended draw. Let's say you're holding a 9 and an 8. With the 7 and 6 on the board, you have 9, 8, 7, 6. You see how you're open on both ends? A 10 gives you a straight, and a 5 also gives you a straight. You have way more chances to win.
Then, you have the other kind, the inside, or as they call it, the gut shot draw. This time you're holding a 10 and a 9. The board has a jack, a 7, and a 6. So you have J, 10, 9, and then 7, 6. There's a big hole in the middle. You need one and only one card in the entire deck to save you, an 8.
So just to lock this in, the open-ended draw is your friend. It's strong, it's flexible, you have more outs, more cards in the deck that can make you a winner. The gut shot though, yeah, that's a whole different story. It's way weaker. You're basically just hoping and praying for one specific card to show up. It's a much more dangerous spot to be in.
And here's why all this detail is so important. On that specific Jack 7-6 board, the teacher calculated that almost 11% of all possible starting hands have some kind of straight draw. Think about that. Roughly 1 out of every 9 players could be chasing a straight. The threat is literally everywhere.
Okay, I know what you might be thinking. This is a lot of math, a lot of tedious detail, right? Why does grinding through all these possibilities actually matter when the pressure's on and the money's on the line?
Well, the teacher's answer is pretty blunt. It's about survival. It's about risk management. If you don't see all the ways you can be beaten, you have no idea how strong your hand truly is. Believing you have the best possible hand, the nuts, is totally useless if you're blind to a hidden straight that crushes you.
And this right here, this is the nightmare scenario it's all designed to prevent. Imagine you're holding a monster hand, like three-of-a-kind aces. You feel invincible. But because you haven't done the work, you don't see how many ways a straight is possible. You go all in, totally confident, and then you lose everything to a hand you never even saw coming. This practice isn't just about finding straights, it's about avoiding disaster.
And that's what brings it all full circle, you see? The Stoic mindset says focus on what you can control. Well, this intense, detailed practice is controlling what you can control. It's the hard work of mastering your analysis, of seeing everything, so that you can make the best possible decision no matter what the cards say.
And that leaves us with one last thought. Because this isn't really just about poker, is it? Whether you're an investor, an artist, a programmer, the principle is the same. Mastering the details is how you start to master the game. So the question for you is, what possibilities are hiding in plain sight, right in front of you, just waiting to be noted?
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're doing something a little bit different.
Yeah, wait.
Usually, we grab a polished bestseller or a viral article, something that's been edited and peer-reviewed to death.
Mm-hmm. Cleaned up for public consumption.
Exactly. But today, we're looking at a raw artifact. We have a transcript. Just a single, sprawling, completely unedited conversation between a high-level poker teacher and his student.
It's a really fascinating document.
Yeah.
I mean, it is unpolished, it's meandering, and honestly, it's incredibly dense.
Right.
It's the kind of thing most people would probably just scroll past.
Yeah.
But if you stop and actually read it,
Yeah.
you realize you're looking at something pretty special.
And I want to set the hook right here at the start. If you don't play poker, please do not tune out.
Oh, for sure.
Because this isn't really about cards. I mean, yes, cards are involved. They talk about board textures and betting patterns and all that.
The jargon is there.
But what this conversation actually is a philosophy seminar disguised as a strategy meeting.
That is the perfect way to frame it. It's exactly that. You have this constant oscillation between the literally spotting a specific pattern of numbers on a card table and the macro.
And the macro gets really macro.
It really does.
Hmm.
I mean, we're talking stoicism, the nature of dreams, the evolution of human culture, and even why we eat sushi the way we do.
It's eclectic, to say the very least. So let's set the stage a bit. We have two characters in this little drama. First, we have the student. His name is Norman. And Norman isn't your typical, math nerd poker grinder. He's an interesting guy in his own right. He's an author.
Yeah, he mentions that he's written 5 books, and he does something I find really interesting. He writes them in French first, and then translates them into English himself.
Wow.
Yeah, and he mentions a couple of the titles, like Laboratory Diamond Strike and Samurai Streak.
Those sound like, 80s anime titles.
They really do.
Yeah.
But it tells you something right away. This is a creative mind, someone who thinks in narratives and structures, not just, spreadsheets and odds.
He's trying to impose a story structure onto a game that is, at its heart, just cold, hard chaos. And then you have the teacher, and this guy, he is not your average gambling coach. He's very Socratic in his method.
Very. He's analytical, and he's constantly pushing Norman to ask why.
Always why.
Exactly. The teacher's looking at the game of poker, sure, but he's using it as a lens to view all of human behavior.
So the mission of this deep dive, then, is to track that conversation. We want to understand how discipline, pattern recognition, and cultural context all shape our decision-making.
Whether you're staring down a huge bet at a poker table, or you're just standing in line at a buffet.
I love that. Okay, so let's jump right into the first big theme they tackle, which is the mental game.
The foundation.
It all starts with Norman bringing up this video series he's been studying called The Poker Mindset. It sounds like a beast of a series, something like 6 or 7 hours long.
Right. And Norman, he admits he hasn't even finished it yet. He's recommended it to people, but he's only watched maybe 5 or 6 of the 8 videos.
Which, honestly, is the most relatable thing in the entire transcript.
It's so true. The unfinished online course is the universal human experience.
I think I have 3 tabs open right now for courses I'll never finish. I am guilty as charged. But the teacher, he just latches onto this immediately.
He does. He completely ignores the fact that it's unfinished and identifies the core of these modern poker lessons as something much, much older.
He goes straight to the ancients.
Straight to Stoicism.
Just like that.
Yep. The teacher points out that all these videos about tilt, about handling losses, about maintaining mental stability, They all just trace their roots back to ancient Stoic philosophy, specifically the dichotomy of control.
Okay, so that's the classic idea of knowing what you can change and what you can't, right?
Correct. In poker, you control your strategy. You control your analysis. You control whether you check or bet or fold.
The input.
Exactly. You do not control the cards that come off the deck. You do not control the final outcome of the hand. And the teacher really emphasizes that mental stability comes from that realization that if you played the hand correctly, based on the information you had, the result just doesn't matter.
Which is, I mean, that's easy to say when you're winning.
And incredibly hard to internalize when you're losing.
Bro.
And they discuss this, which leads them to this concept of the hedonic treadmill.
Oh, this is such a great concept. Let's really unpack this for a minute.
So the hedonic treadmill is this psychological theory that humans have a baseline level of happiness.
A set point.
A set point, yeah. And the teacher uses a pretty extreme comparison to make his point. He says it doesn't matter if you're a citizen living in North Korea or you're living in a palace in Europe. Eventually, you come back to your center. You just acclimate to your circumstances.
So the person in the palace isn't walking around in a state of permanent ecstasy. They get used to the silk sheets. It just becomes normal.
Exactly. And the person in the dictatorship, they get used to the restrictions. That becomes their normal. In poker, this is absolutely crucial. You win a huge pot. You feel that spike of joy, of course. But 2 hours later, you're back to your baseline. You lose your entire bankroll. You feel that pit of misery in your stomach. But eventually, your brain resets.
So the goal of the mental game, then, is to speed up that reset, to shorten the distance back to the baseline.
You have to constantly realign yourself to that center. The teacher says if you win money or lose money, it shouldn't impact your next decision. You just keep following the strategy.
And Norman uses that exact word, realign. He talks about using these videos to realign himself.
Feels like a chiropractor for the brain.
I love that image. That's perfect. You go to a chiropractor to snap your spine back into place. You go to Stoicism to snap your perspective back into place.
Yeah.
But then they get really real about it. Because the teacher acknowledges the elephant in the room. It's really, really hard to be a Stoic when you have bills to pay.
That is the friction point, isn't it? Good. The teacher says, and I'm paraphrasing here, if you are dependent on the outcome because you have a mortgage or some other pressure, then it is really tough.
You can't just detach from the result when your livelihood is on the line. It's not an intellectual exercise anymore.
Exactly. He suggests it takes a long time. He throws out a number like 6 months to a year to truly train your brain to follow the strategy and to ignore the money.
It's not a switch you can just flip in your head. It's a muscle you have to build over time.
It's conditioning, pure conditioning. You have to train your brain to value the logic over the liquidity.
But that logic requires clear vision. You can have the best, most Stoic mindset in the world, but if you can't actually see what's happening on the table...
And you're just a Zen loser.
Exactly. Which brings us to the real technical meat of this transcript, the final test. The teacher decides to grill Norman on noticing straits. Now, for the non-poker players listening, a straight is just 5 cards in numerical order, like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It sounds simple. So why is this a test?
Because straights are camouflaged. They're sneaky. If you have a flush, say, 5 hearts, your brain sees the color. It just pops.
Right. It's visually obvious.
A full house.
Yeah.
You see the pair and the 3 of a kind, they group together. But a straight, it's just a sequence of numbers. And they can be hidden in the noise of a random-looking board. The teacher calls it a radar. You need to be able to detect everything that can possibly beat you.
Let's walk through one of these case studies because I think it shows just how complex this process of seeing really is. They look at a board, 97632.
Right, a messy, disconnected-looking board. And the teacher asks, is there a straight possible?
And Norman's first answer is yes, a 9 to 5 straight.
Which sounds plausible at first glance.
It does, 9, 7, 6. You think 5. But wait, to make a 5 to 9 straight, you need a 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. The board is missing the 8.
Exactly. Norman eventually realizes his mistake. But the key lesson that comes out of this exchange is about the 1 card straight.
Okay, what is that?
So in Texas Hold'em, you typically use 2 cards from your hand and 3 from the 5 on the board. We're all conditioned to look for that 2-card connection.
Right.
But sometimes the board itself has 4 connecting cards. Like if the board was 3, 4, 5, 6. If you're holding just a 2 in your hand or just a 7, you have a straight.
And people miss that.
All the time.
Yeah.
They look at their hand, they see a 2 and a king, and they think, I have nothing. But the board has done almost all the work for them.
They're looking for a marriage between their 2 cards, but the board is already hosting the party. They just need to bring 1 guest.
That's a great way to put it. And then there's this concept of transference. This idea really blew my mind. The idea that a straight that it can move, essentially.
This term really stuck with me too. Explain how a straight can shift its value.
Okay, so it's all about relative strength.
Right.
Let's say the board allows for a 6 high straight, and you have the cards for it, you feel great, you have the nuts, the best possible hand.
You think you're golden.
You think you're golden, but then the next card comes, and it's a 7. Now, your 6 high straight is still a straight. That hasn't changed. But because that 7 is now on the board, it's now possible for someone else to have an 8 high straight.
So the power transfers up. The best possible hand is no longer yours.
The power transfers up the ladder. If you're holding the low end of that straight, you think you're strong, but you might actually be drawing dead.
It's like climbing a mountain, thinking you've reached the summit, and then the clouds clear and you see there's another peak 1,000 feet above you.
And someone is standing on it with a sniper rifle aimed at your wallet.
Exactly.
That is transference. You went from being the predator to the prey without your hand changing at all.
So they analyze another board, right? A 9-8-7. 3 cards in a row. The teacher calls this a cluster.
A cluster is a minefield. When you see 9-8-7 on the board, straights are everywhere. If a player has a jack and a 10, they have a straight.
If they have a 6 and a 5.
Also a straight. But here's where the blocking concept comes in. If you have that 6 high straight, using your 6 and 5, you are losing to the person with the jack high straight.
Of course.
And certain cards that can come on the board kill the value of those lower straights by making the higher ones possible. It just creates so many dangers.
It really emphasizes how much mental processing power is happening in a single hand of poker. You're not just looking at your own cards. You're constantly looking at the gaps.
Speaking of gaps, that leads to what I think is the most fascinating technical insight of the whole call. The difference between an open-ended draw and a gut shot draw.
Okay, let's define those for the uninitiated listening.
So an open-ended draw means you have 4 cards in a row, like 5, 6, 7, 8. You can hit a 4 on the low end or a 9 on the high end to make your straight.
So you have 8 cards in the deck that can help you. 2 ways to win.
Exactly. A gut shot or an inside straight draw means you have a gap in the middle, like 5, 6, 8, 9. You need exactly the 7 to fill the inside. There are only 4 7s in the deck.
So open-ended is strictly better. It has twice the number of outs, as they call them.
Usually, yes. That's what we're all taught. But the teacher reveals this hidden pattern he calls the double gut shot.
The double gut shot. It sounds like a wrestling move from the 90s.
It totally does. But it's geometrically beautiful when you see it. Imagine a board where the cards are spaced in such a way that you're missing 2 different middle cards, either of which would complete a straight.
Can you give us an example?
It's a bit tricky without cards, but think of a sequence like, say you hold a 10 and a 7, and the board is Jack 9 6. You're missing an 8 for one straight and a queen for another. You have 2 different inside draws at the same time.
Ah, I see. So you have 4 8s that help you and 4 queens that help you.
Which means you have 8 outs.
Yeah.
The teacher points out that a double gut shot has just as many outs, just as many cards that help you as a standard open-ended draw.
So mathematically, it's just as strong.
Mathematically, yes.
Yeah.
But psychologically, it's a stealth weapon. An open-ended draw looks scary. Everyone sees 5, 6, 7, 8 on the board and gets nervous. But a double gut shot, it just looks like garbage. It looks like a random collection of disconnected cards.
So your opponents don't defend against it.
They don't even see it coming.
Right.
The teacher compares it to a military radar. He says, you need to detect everything that can beat you. You might be holding pocket aces, you feel invincible.
Right.
But if there are, and he throws out this number, 53 different combinations of cards that make a straight on that board, your aces are garbage. You need to know if you're walking into a trap.
5-3 combinations.
That's the number he throws out. I think it's meant to be illustrative, but it highlights the danger. If you don't spot the possibility of a double gut shot, you're flying blind straight into a mountain.
It's about finding that signal in the noise. And Norman, to his credit, he's trying. But you can tell in the transcript that the math is just grinding him down.
Oh, he is flagging. He's tired. And the teacher notices. So he does something really brilliant. He pivots. They stop talking about cards entirely, and they start talking about dreams.
And not just in a, oh, I had a weird dream last night kind of way. They go into full-on analysis mode.
Mm-hmm. Norman shares that he has these recurring dreams about being back in school.
And he says they're boring. He's in a physics class, or he's late for an exam, or he's wrestling a classmate from his childhood. He says something like, my dreams are never flying or fighting dragons. I'm just back in school.
Which is funny because the teacher finds them completely fascinating.
Yeah.
He argues that any dream is interesting simply because reality shifts. The rules of the world change.
But Norman has this epiphany. He figures out why he thinks he dreams of school. He calls it the sheep theory.
The sheep theory. I love this. This is his grand unified theory for why his brain retreats to the classroom at night.
Break it down for us.
Norman realizes that his subconscious actually craves the simplicity of school. He says that in school, you are a fish in a flock or a sheep in a herd. All the big decisions are made for you.
Right. You wake up when the bell rings. You eat when the cafeteria opens. You study what the syllabus tells you to study.
You don't have to carry the psychic burden of your own life.
That is. Wow, that's profound. He's saying that freedom is actually a heavy load to carry.
Freedom is exhausting. We think we want total autonomy, but autonomy requires constant, relentless decision-making. What do I do with my life? What do I eat for lunch? When do I work out? Norman's adult brain is tired of all that, so it dreams of being a student again.
Where the choices are made for him.
Exactly. And this sparks the discipline debate. The teacher relates to this heavily. He talks about his own experience in boarding school. And it sounds absolutely Spartan.
Waking up at 6 a.m. for fitness, mandatory meals, scheduled study hours.
And he says, you don't need self-discipline when the system imposes it on you.
That's the paradox, isn't it? True discipline is only required when you actually have freedom.
Yes. If a drill sergeant is screaming at you to wake up, you aren't disciplined, you're just obedient. But when you live alone and nobody cares if you sleep until noon, that's when you need real internal discipline.
The teacher also mentioned something about running as punishment. That really stood out to me.
Yes. In his school, if you misbehaved, the punishment was you had to wake up an hour earlier than everyone else and run laps.
Which is brutal when you're a teenager who just wants to sleep.
Right. It steals your sleep, which is the most precious commodity. So running becomes associated with pain and punishment.
But his point is
that kids naturally love to run. They run around playgrounds screaming with joy. It's a natural reward state for a child. By framing it as a punishment, the school took something joyful and turned it into a penalty.
It's all about context and framing.
And that leads them to this broader conclusion about the human condition. We always want the opposite of what we have. It's the paradox of freedom.
That's the quote. We always want the opposite of what we have.
When we're in a strict system, like school or the army, we hate it. We dream of being free, sleeping in, doing what we want. But then when we have total freedom, we often feel lost. We crave structure.
The grass is always greener.
It is. And speaking of the human condition and social structures, the conversation then flows from the internal world of dreams to the external world of social interaction. And we get this incredible story about the buffet.
The buffet incident. This is such a small, mundane moment, but the teacher dissects it so beautifully.
He's at a hotel buffet, which is, the ultimate symbol of modern freedom and abundance. You can take whatever you want, as much as you want.
Unlimited sushi. The dream.
Exactly. But there's an Indian woman standing next to him. And despite all this abundance, she acts in a very specific, and to him, very strange way.
She keeps asking him if he wants the food before she takes any for herself.
Repeatedly. Do you want some of this? Do you want the sushi?
Even when the trays were full?
Yes. Even when there was plenty for everyone, she was deferring to him. And the teacher and Norman, they start to hypothesize that this must be a cultural holdover.
Like maybe in her culture or just in her household, men traditionally eat first. Or it's just a deep-seated communal politeness that doesn't just switch off.
It's a clash of operating systems. The buffet is designed for a me-first, individualistic mindset. She is running on a you-first communal program.
That's a great way to put it. She's bringing this hierarchical communal mindset into a totally flat, individualistic space.
But what's really fascinating is the teacher's reaction to it all. He's baffled by it, but he also feels this pang of regret.
He regrets not talking to her more.
He does. He regrets not extending the conversation. He says something like, everyone is usually in their own head. Everyone thinks about the person next to them only as an obstacle in the line. And here was this person breaking that unspoken social contract of isolation. And he let the moment pass.
It really highlights that McDonaldization of culture they talk about later. We're so used to efficiency. Get the food, sit down, eat, leave. That a moment of genuine, perhaps inefficient politeness feels completely alien.
Inefficient is the perfect word. And Norman points out that humans seem to hate simplicity anyway. We complicate things for pleasure. He uses the example of sushi.
The nori sheets.
Yes. He says, look at nori. It's just seaweed. a wet leaf you find by the sea. If you're an animal, you just eat it for the nutrients. But humans, we have to dry it, process it into perfect geometric sheets, wrap rice in it, make complex sauces. We don't just eat the ingredients.
He compares it to an apple. An animal just eats the apple. We have to peel it, core it, cook it, put sugar and cinnamon on it. We turn it into a pie.
Because we're bored. Animals eat to fuel themselves. Humans eat to entertain themselves. We complicate food to make it palatable, not just biologically, but psychologically. We need the artifice, the story.
And this leads them to a kind of a darker thought about globalization. They start talking about how distinct cultures are fading because of these big corporations, the Coca-Cola and McDonald's effect, as they call it.
And the teacher brings up a specific example from Alaska that really stuck with me. He mentioned some of the indigenous tribes there used to make a type of ice cream.
But not, vanilla bean with chocolate sauce.
Yeah, not at all. This was a mixture of animal fat, meat, and berries. It was a high-energy survival food, specifically designed to keep you alive and warm in the brutal Arctic winter. Let's call it meat ice cream.
Okay, meat ice cream. Got it.
But he notes that this tradition is dying out. And why? Because you can just go to the village store and buy a tub of commercial ice cream.
It's easier.
It's easier, it's sweeter, it requires no hunting, no rendering fat, no gathering berries.
And so the culture dies, not because it was conquered in a war, but because it just became inconvenient.
Exactly. Convenience is the killer of tradition. The commercial product displaces the cultural tradition, not because it's better nutritionally, it's certainly not, but simply because it's easy.
They mentioned Japanese etiquette, too.
Yeah, how eating while walking used to be incredibly rude in Japan, a real social taboo.
Right.
But even that is starting to fade. Why? Because we're all slowly becoming the same global consumer.
That is kind of depressing, but also very true.
It is. And this theme of lost meaning really culminates in their discussion about Christmas, or as the teacher insists on calling it, Yule.
I have to be honest, I did not see this coming in a poker coaching transcript. The teacher goes full historian here. He completely deconstructs Christmas.
He strips it right down to the studs. He argues that the holiday we celebrate has almost nothing to do with a birth or religion. It was originally about the winter solstice, the darkest, shortest day of the year.
It was a survival feast.
It was pure pragmatism. He explains that ancient people in northern climates couldn't feed all their livestock through the entire winter. They didn't have enough hay or grain stored up.
So when the deep cold hit,
They had to slaughter the weaker animals.
and they couldn't preserve all that meat,
Exactly. Salt was expensive, or maybe they didn't have enough. So what do you do with a mountain of fresh meat that's about to spoil in a few days?
you eat it.
You eat it. You have a massive feast. You eat and drink everything you can before it rots. That is the true origin of the Christmas feast. It wasn't a celebration of abundance. It was a desperate celebration of, we have to eat this now or we're all going to die.
And the Yule log, that's not just for decoration.
Pure superstition. Burning the log was a form of divination, a way to try and predict the next season's harvest. If it burned long and bright, maybe the crops would be good. The teacher's whole point is that we have kept the shell of the tradition, the tree, the big dinner, the gathering, but we've completely lost the why.
We've lost the connection to the solstice and the harvest and the cycle of life and death.
Mm-hmm. And Norman argues that without that philosophical meaning, the holiday just feels empty.
It connects right back to the Stoicism at the very beginning of the call. We're just going through the motions without understanding the underlying reality.
Whether it's playing a poker hand without seeing the hidden straight, or celebrating a holiday without knowing why we're eating a giant turkey, we are surface dwellers.
It's all about looking beneath the surface. That seems to be the connecting thread through this entire sprawling conversation.
Absolutely. The teacher is constantly pushing Norman, and by extension us, to look deeper. Don't just look at the cards on the table. Look for the hidden pattern. Don't just dismiss the dream as boring. Look for the psychological need for structure it reveals.
Don't just look at the sushi. Look at the human need to complicate and aestheticize nature.
Right. And they end on a really provocative thought about the invention of writing itself. Norman suggests that writing might have actually caused us to lose something profound.
The death of the oral tradition.
Yes. This is a classic Socratic argument, actually. Before books, knowledge had to be memorized. Stories were living things passed from person to person, from generation to generation. They were valued because they were kept alive inside the mind.
If you didn't tell the story, it died. It ceased to exist.
Exactly. Now, knowledge is just stored. And his argument is that it rots in libraries. That's the sentiment. because written down somewhere, we don't feel the need to internalize it.
We assume it's safe on a shelf or a server somewhere, so we ignore it.
And we consume what Norman calls brain rot instead, while all this deep wisdom is just sitting there completely ignored.
It's the idiocracy reference they make. We have access to all the knowledge in human history, but we choose the path of least resistance.
We choose the path of least resistance, just like buying the commercial ice cream instead of making the traditional fat treat, just like playing the cards face up instead of doing the hard work of calculating all the possible straits. We are lazy because technology allows us to be.
So what does this all mean for us? For the listener who isn't a French author or a high-stakes poker coach?
Well, I think the call to action here is to check your own boards. Look at your own life. Look at your habits, your traditions, the structures you operate within.
And ask why.
And ask why. Are you doing things because they're open-ended and they give you clear, good options? Or are you caught in a double gut shot, a trap you can't even see?
Are you disciplined because you chose to be, or are you disciplined because you're just a sheep in the flock?
Precisely. Are you waking up early because you truly want to seize the day, or just because the alarm clock scares you? And remember the teacher's final lingering reminder, we always want what we don't have. If you have structure, you want freedom. If you have freedom, you crave structure. The goal, perhaps, the Stoic goal, is to find a way to be okay with exactly what you have on your board right now.
To come back to your center.
To come back to your center.
Okay.
And to always, always check for the hidden straits.
Always check for the double gut shot. I think that is a perfect place to leave it. This was a wild ride, from the poker table to the winter solstice. Thanks for diving in with us.
My pleasure. It was a great one.
See you next time.
Welcome to The Debate. Today we're dissecting a really unusual piece of source material. It starts out as a very technical poker coaching session, calculating odds, straight draws, that kind of thing. But it just completely spirals into this sprawling philosophical conversation. We're talking about everything from stoicism to the meaning of dreams to the loss of cultural traditions.
Yeah, it's a fascinating text because it just refuses to stay in one lane. 1 minute you're learning about the math behind a poker hand, and the next you're discussing the McDonald's and Coca-Cola effect on global culture. So I think the central question we're really wrestling with today is this. Is a life well lived all about imposing rigid structure, this military radar as the text calls it, that spots every threat? Or is it about embracing the chaos, the bending of reality, and holding on to things that don't have a clear logical use?
And that's exactly where we're going to disagree. I'll be taking the side of the advocate. I'm going to argue that the text shows, pretty clearly, that structure is the key to survival. Whether it's at the poker table or just in life, you need that military radar. You need discipline. Without it, everything just falls apart.
And I'll be taking the side of the dissenter. I think the text shows that all that calculation can maybe save your poker tips, but it can't save your soul, so to speak. I'm going to argue that this obsession with efficiency, with the radar, actually robs us of what it means to be human. I'll be arguing for the Stoic center, for the surreal, and yes, for the necessity of fish ice cream in a world that's becoming way too predictable.
All right, so let's lay out our positions. For me, when you look at the poker sections, the thesis is it's undeniable. Vigilance is the price of existence. The instructor uses this incredibly aggressive metaphor, the military radar. He's teaching the student to spot every single possible straight on the board. If there's a 9 and a 7 out there, you have to mentally calculate every card combination that could beat you. It's not about being obsessive. It's about survival.
But you have to look at the emotional toll of that survival strategy.
The toll doesn't matter if the alternative is getting wiped out. My position is that the student's own dreams prove this. He instinctively retreats into the structure of his old boarding school, waking up at 6, scheduled meals. He craves that imposed discipline. He even admits that without that external force, without the threat of running laps, he'd just devolve into laziness and watch stupid movies. We need the radar and we need the schedule, or we lose. Simple as that.
Well, that's a pretty bleak view of human nature. My position is that the text is actively pushing back against that kind of rigid thinking. I mean, they spend a huge amount of time talking about this mindset video series, which is all about Buddhism and Stoicism. They talk about the dichotomy of control. You can analyze the board all you want, you can spot that double gut shot, but you can't control the next card that comes. So my argument is that all those technical drills are basically useless without what they call the Stoic center. The teacher says, It doesn't matter if you're North Korean or if you live in a palace. You always come back to your center. The structure you're advocating for, I see it as a cage. The real value is in the mental flexibility to accept that an odds calculator can't read your opponent's mind.
I'd say the Stoicism is there to serve the strategy, not replace it. But okay, let's dive into the core debate. I really want to dissect this idea of the military radar versus the Stoic mindset, because that's where this all comes to a head.
Okay, let's break it down.
So in the transcript, the teacher puts the student through this absolutely grueling drill. He throws up random cards on the board and just forces him to find the straits. Can we make a 7 high straight? No. Can we make a 6 high straight? It's repetitive, it's exhausting, but he's trying to isolate a very specific pattern, the double inside straight draw. Now, for the benefit of the audience, this isn't like having 4 cards in a row. It's a gapped structure, like a 9 and a 7 on the board, where multiple different cards can complete a straight. To the untrained eye, it just looks like nothing. It looks like chaos. Exactly. But the teacher points out that it's as powerful as the 4 cards in a row. And if you don't have that radar on, if you don't have that technical precision, you might be sitting there with your pocket aces thinking you're invincible. You go all in, and then you lose everything because you didn't see the threat. The text is practically screaming at us that knowing the details, especially the ones you'd rather ignore, is the difference between winning and going bust. The radar isn't about anxiety, it's about reality.
I'm just not sure I agree that the radar is reality. I mean, the teacher himself admits that straights only happen, every 10th card. They're statistical outliers, and the radar treats them like they're a constant, imminent threat. And the student actually pushes back on this. He says his odds calculator gives him the math, but, and I'm quoting here, it cannot tell me what card my opponent is missing because he doesn't know the cards of my opponent. That right there is the fatal flaw in your worldview. You're trying to map something that is fundamentally unmappable.
You're trying to survive. If you just assume the anomaly won't happen, you aren't playing poker, you're just gambling.
But the radar creates this paranoia, this feeling that everything that beats your hand makes it more dangerous. The Stoic approach, which is the whole counter-narrative in the text, offers a solution to the anxiety your radar creates. They talk about the hedonic treadmill. If you win the hand, you eventually return to your baseline happiness. If you lose the hand to a straight you didn't see coming, you also return to your baseline happiness. The teacher says if you realize that some stuff is not in your control, that will help. This obsession with the military radar is a refusal to accept the world's inherent unpredictability. You're trying to force logic onto chaos. I'm saying the text argues you should learn to surf the chaos, not try to build a dam against it.
Well, surfing is a lovely metaphor until you drown. The text is very clear. If you don't find that straight, you might think your aces is the nuts. That is a factual error. It's caused by a lack of diligence. It's not paranoia. It's about information accuracy. And I want to connect this need for structure to the second part of our discussion, the architecture of dreams. Because this tension between control and chaos, it just bleeds right off the poker table and into the student's subconscious.
It really does. And that was, for me, the most surprising turn in the whole thing.
The student describes these reoccurring dreams he has. Now, normally when people talk about dreams, it's about flying or some impossible scenario. But he dreams of being back in boarding school. He's dreaming about exams, about wrestling classmates. And he says something that I think completely vindicates the military radar worldview. He says, in school, you were like a sheep in a group of sheep. Decision was made for you. He finds peace in that. He finds peace in having no freedom.
Peace is a very generous word for what he's describing.
It is the peace of structure. Look, humans suffer from decision fatigue. Every single day we have to decide what to eat, what to wear, how to play a hand of cards. In his dream, the bell rings, you move. The bell rings, you eat. I argue this just proves the necessity of the drill sergeant. We want the teacher to wake us up at 6 a.m. We want the running laps punishment. It organizes our chaotic impulses and saves us from the burden of having to choose for ourselves.
I completely reject that interpretation. The text offers a much more compelling and frankly more human view of dreams through the teacher's perspective. The teacher says dreams are only interesting because reality gets bent. He talks about moving from a classroom to a park without walking, just instantly moving through time and space. That is the dissenter's philosophy. The beauty of the dream isn't the scheduled exam. It's the surrealism. It's the breaking of the rules.
But the student isn't enjoying the surrealism. He's clinging to the rules.
Because he's been conditioned to fear his own freedom. I mean, look at the specific example of running laps they discuss. The teacher points out this profound irony. Children like to move around. Running was a punishment, even though children naturally love to run. This is the ultimate indictment of your argument for structure. You take a natural joy, running, playing, and by turning it into a scheduled punishment at 6 in the morning, you turn it into misery. Structure corrupts natural joy. That school dream isn't a fantasy of peace. It's a nightmare of conformity, where the student's natural instincts have been stripped away.
I think you're romanticizing the natural state. The student says, point blank, if I just let myself do what I want, it will hurt me. He knows that without the laps, he becomes lazy. He needs that external force. He's self-aware enough to know his natural joy quickly turns into watching brain rot content. But I want to pivot this to the real world because the text moves from dreams to a very tangible discussion about culture, food, and history, which brings us to our third point, complexity, culture, and the fish ice cream.
Ah, yes, the Inuit ice cream. This is where it goes from the personal to the civilizational.
Exactly. The teacher tells a story about an Inuit tribe that makes a kind of ice cream using fish or meat and fat. It's this very labor-intensive local tradition. And he observes, I think quite correctly, that will disappear with time, because why go hunt if you can just buy an ice cream everywhere around you? This is the core of the advocate's position on how culture evolves. The text says, the culture only stays if it has use. If I can go to a store and buy a Magnum bar for $2, why on earth would I spend hours rendering fish fat? It is just logical that traditions die when they become inefficient.
That is such a chillingly pragmatic view, and it completely misses the tragedy the text is describing. The teacher isn't celebrating this, he's lamenting the McDonald's and Coca-Cola effect. He says, everywhere you find the same shops, everywhere they give you the same stuff. When we lose the fish ice cream, we're not just gaining efficiency, we're losing our identity. The text argues that humans actually crave complexity out of boredom. I mean, just look at the sushi example.
The sushi example proves my point. We take simple ingredients, rice, fish, and we create these elaborate, completely unnecessary rituals around them. The teacher calls it boredom, I call it friction.
It's not friction, it's art. It's the definition of civilization. The teacher points out that our stomach doesn't really care how much labor and effort goes into it. If we followed your logic of pure efficiency, your military radar applied to nutrition, we'd all just drink some kind of nutrient slurry. But we don't. We make sushi. We dry nori sheets. We cook the rice with vinegar. We complicate things because that's where the meaning is. The dissenter argues that your military radar of efficiency destroys the sushi of life. It turns the world into one giant airport terminal, functional, clean, and utterly soulless.
Okay, but let's look at the specific interaction the teacher had at the buffet to see what this meaning actually looks like. It ties perfectly into efficiency versus ritual. He meets an Indian woman. She asks him 5 times if he wants food before she takes any herself. She's being incredibly polite. And what's the result? Total confusion. The teacher admits, I didn't understand why she's asking me 5 times. He even points out that waiting for everyone is a technical issue with the food's temperature. If you wait, the food gets cold. The ritual literally damages the product.
You're focused on the temperature of the food. I'm focused on the temperature of the human connection. The teacher expresses regret. He says, I actually regretted that I didn't have a longer chat with her. In a world where everybody's just in his head, where everyone is running their own personal military radar, this woman's inefficient politeness was a moment of genuine outreach, and he missed it because he was so confused by the break from efficiency. He was so focused on the logistics of the buffet line, he missed the humanity standing right next to him.
But logistics matter. Look at the Yule log discussion. The teacher explains that Christmas was originally a pagan feast, Yule, designed to consume meat before winter because they couldn't feed all the animals. It had a pragmatic, survivalist purpose. The meaning you're clinging to, burning a log to predict the harvest, that was just superstition laid on top of a survival strategy. The text says a lot of those first vegan medicines did make a lot of sense. It was about staying alive. Now that we have refrigerators, we don't need Yule. We've solved the problem.
We don't need the meat, preservation, but we need the ritual, The teacher finds it really sad that Christianity did ban them or make them disappear. He says we've replaced this meaningful connection to the solstice and to nature with Santa Claus coming from the roof and commercial holidays. We've traded a deep cosmic connection for plastic decorations. That's what happens when you prioritize the use of a culture over its spirit. You get the empty McDonald's world the teacher is so afraid of.
I see the romantic appeal, I do, but the text itself provides a counter to that. The teacher admits that meaning can change in time. Just because we don't burn a log to predict a harvest doesn't mean a new holiday is meaningless. But he does struggle with it. He says, I only find meaning in philosophic subjects. This brings us right back to the central tension. The advocate argues that fish ice cream disappears because it's obsolete technology. The military radar replaces a gut feeling because it works better. Evolution is efficient.
And the dissenter argues that when you replace the gut feeling with the radar and the fish ice cream with the store-bought brand, you end up with the idiocracy scenario they reference at the end. The teacher notes that there's so much interesting content around us, but we all choose brain rot. Why? Because we've optimized everything for ease, for the path of least resistance. That is the ultimate failure of the efficiency mindset. It makes us passive consumers instead of active creators.
Okay, but let's look at the conclusion the text is pushing us towards. The student, after all this philosophy and talk of dreams and Inuit traditions, still has to pass the test. He still has to find the straight. The teacher says if you don't find all those possibilities, it's more dangerous. You can't philosophize your way out of a poker hand when your opponent has you beat. Survival in the game and in history belongs to those who do the math. The people who made fish ice cream were conquered or assimilated by people who figured out better supply chains. That is the harsh reality of it.
That is a bleak reality, but the text ends with this beautiful paradox that I think suggests another way. We always want the opposite of what we have. When we're free, we crave the structure of the boarding school. When we're in the school, we crave the freedom of the dream. My conclusion is that while the radar might keep you safe, it's the bending of reality that makes life worth saving. The teacher says it's quite nice when reality shifts. If we lose that capacity for wonder, if we lose the ability to appreciate the polite Indian woman with the buffet because we're worried about our food getting cold, we've already lost the game of life, even if we win the hand of poker.
That is a poetic sentiment, but I have to ground us back in the text one last time. The student is tired, he's struggling, and yet the teacher tells him, you hanged in there. You can be proud of that. The pride comes from the work. It comes from the discipline of looking for that straight even when you're exhausted. And that supports the advocate's view that meaning is found in that struggle, in applying skill against a chaotic world.
I see it differently. I think the pride comes from the connection between them. It's the dialogue itself, the sushi of their conversation. They aren't just doing math drills. They're sharing their dreams, their vulnerabilities about sleepwalking and childhood fears. That human connection is the complexity we create out of boredom, and it's the most valuable thing in the entire transcript. Without it, it's just math. With it, it's a relationship.
It seems we've arrived at the synthesis the source material hints at. The text explicitly says, we always want the opposite of what we have.
Exactly. The student needs the military radar to feel safe at the poker table, but he needs the mindset philosophy to actually handle the outcome, win or lose.
He needs the structure of the boarding school to avoid becoming lazy, but he needs the surrealism of the dream to feel free.
And we need the efficiency of modern refrigeration, maybe, but we have to mourn the loss of the Yule log and the fish ice cream because they represented a unique human ingenuity that we're forgetting how to replicate.
So, for our listeners, the challenge is this. You have to build your military radar. You have to do the drills. You need to know the difference between a double gut shot and an open-ended draw. You just can't survive on vibes alone.
But once you've built that radar, you have to learn when to turn it off. You have to let yourself eat the sushi of life, the complex, inefficient, beautiful rituals that have no use other than the joy they bring us. You have to accept that you can't control the next card and find your center no matter what happens.
A fascinating exploration of a poker transcript. Who knew that looking for a 9-high straight could lead us all the way to the ancient solstices?
It just goes to show you, the material is always richer than it seems on the surface.
Thank you for joining us on The Debate.
Goodbye.
Welcome. My poker teacher is waiting for me. Jump in the call. I just want to introduce my last two books, book number 4 and 5, that you can take a look at it. With my poker teacher, I will talk about philosophic subject. We are going to review a couple of hands. I'm gonna introduce to you my last two books, the only ones I could edit. The other ones still have to be edited. This is my 5th book in French, La Voix du Diamant Stoique. I write them in French and translate them into English. Here is The Way of the Stoic Diamond. That's the English version. Weg des stoischen Diamond, the German version. Here you have my 4th book, Samouraï Stoic in French. The translation in English, A Stoic Samurai. I'm gonna jump into my call with my poker teacher.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, I do. You're all dressed today.
Yeah, I guess sometimes I do that for no reason. Just to feel different, I guess.
It looks nice. How's the weather at your place?
Well, it's something like -8 degrees on the ground. That's correct. Let's see, -6 at the moment. Cloudy. I don't think it snowed today, but there's snow on the ground. How about
-3 degrees, but no snow.
What do you have on your mind? How have you been doing?
I'm doing okay, thank you, Norman. You?
Good. I always like New Year to have like these New Year's resolutions. We might have talked about it last time, though.
We did, a little.
Feeling good and hopeful. Do I have something? I've been watching this poker mindset video series recently. I don't know if I ever talked to you about it. It's 8 videos. Something like 6-7 hours long in total. Have I ever talked to you about something like that?
I don't think you did.
I guess sometimes I recommend it to people when people want to get better with their psychological or mental side of poker. Usually I recommend that. Then there's one ebook I recommend that's like 30 minutes to read, or they're both free resources. I found them to be quite helpful for myself. The video series I never finished, even though I recommended it. I never watched all the 8 videos. I only had watched like 5 or 6, something like that. I've almost finished it. Well, just something I have on my mind. If you feel like you want even more with poker, I can send you the link to it.
Do that. I will take a look when I find the time.
I feel like he has Buddhist influences, the guy who's giving those lectures. Certainly you could find similarities with Stoicism. Essentially his videos are about how to mentally prepare for games, or how to be mentally stable in poker, deal with the ups and downs, how to focus to make the good decisions, how to think about losses, like these sorts of things. He gives some psychological advice. You get a lot of that from Stoicism, from the Stoic principles. They're not too different. What's interesting, all his videos are specifically relating to poker issues. That might make it more modern in this way, what the content is, sometimes with some old texts, even though if they're very good, you can't directly connect them always with your problems. Have you ever read any Stoic text that's related to trading or finance, for example? Is there someone who's written like some modern day Stoic version of finance?
Well, that dichotomy of control is really important. So if you realize that some stuff is not in your control, there's nothing you can do about that, that will help. Try to focus on the part that is under your control. A lot can actually help. We talked about the hedonic treadmill, that you always come back to your center. Doesn't matter if you're North Korean or if you live in a palace somewhere in Europe, the US. Doesn't matter. You always come back to your center. In the end, if you win money or lose money, it shouldn't have such an impact on you. You should just keep doing what you're doing. Follow your strategy, your analysis. That's easy said and it's hard done. It takes time and practice to do that. Everything can help if you look at it the right way. If you are not too dependent on the outcome. The outcome must be good because you have a lot of pressure, a lot of bills to pay, a mortgage and so on. Then it's really tough. If you can take some distance, you know that you're doing the right thing, then you turn in your favor with time. It takes time. It always takes time. It's not something you do in 6 months or 1 year. It takes time. How will you send me the link?
I don't know. How would you prefer it?
Doesn't matter. As you wish.
Well, I could send it in the meeting chat, for example.
I just have to copy it.
Maybe you won't like this sort of thing, but it's at least something you can.
That's YouTube. What about the book? the free book. Thank you.
Watch those videos as well is to have some practice related to mindset, to realign myself over and over.
To what do you want to realign yourself? To the right mindset?
Exactly, yes.
That's something you can do. I'll take a look and I'll tell you what I think about them. Have you planned anything today?
I'm looking at our notes here. Just gonna recap what we did last time. We were talking about positions on the table. We were talking about strength of limpers. We were talking about noticing straits, which we practiced a few meetings. There was this pot, if you remember, a limped pot we reviewed where a player won a pot just betting one big blind on the flop there. Then we had some summaries of overall how to make lessons better. What I have planned for moving forward with these things is planning hand on the flop, having specific targets when betting, whether you're value betting or bluffing. Minimum defense frequency is a topic we cover at some point, which will be connected with these topics. Then we'll have combinations also, which we've worked on to make use of in some scenarios. If I remember correctly, last time you said we were going to try to mark more hands in this week we had between our two lessons. Were you able to do that?
Not really, no.
It would be good if we had like a topic for today, which we just would do one thing, many repetitions, maybe even not review other aspects of the hand. Just like practicing one thing. We don't even have to, depending on what that one thing is, to practice. All right, I have a topic in mind. It's to do with noticing straits. What about we see if it can be like a final test of that to see how comfortable or confident you have become in that.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's see how it will.
You want me to open something?
Oh, it's fine. We can set up the board. Great. All right, where to start? Let's start with the random boards here. Very good board for our practice. We're in luck with the random board here. Are there straights possible? First question.
Yes.
What's the strongest straight possible here?
It would be 5 up to 9.
Very good. I would usually say other way. I would say like 9 high straight or from 9 to 5. Essentially what you said was correct. What would be the whole cards needed for that straight?
We need a 6, a 7.
Okay, there's an issue though. You said from 5 to 9. I don't see a 9 anywhere here.
Not a 6. We need a 7 and a 9.
Yes, that is correct. What's the second strongest straight?
7 to 3.
Okay, which cards would
we need? A 3 and a 6 and a 7.
What would the whole cards be then?
We cannot make that trade because we are already all the cards out. There's no more turn or river. In that case, next trade would be 6 to 2.
Which whole cards would we need for?
We need 6 at 3.
That is a straight. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Although we don't actually need a 6 here. Why not?
We already have one.
We already have one on the board, yes.
Then just one card, we have a straight.
Exactly. Anything else could be whatever. This card could be like another 3, for example. That would be a straight. You did miss a bunch of straights, and we already got like a tough board to begin with. How to restart here? Well, do you remember what your first straight was? What was the strongest straight you could have?
You said 9-5.
Let's see. Can you see a straight here from 9-5? Oh, you meant from 9 to 5, yes. The whole cards were
9 and a 6.
Think about that for a moment.
You want 6, a 7.
9, 7. I agree that's the strongest straight here. Then what comes after a 9 high straight in general? Not on
10,
this board.
10 high straight.
10 high straight would be even stronger than this.
Yes.
We can try. Maybe there is a stronger straight than 10 high straight. Let's see if we can make a 10 high straight. We have a 10. We have this board. What could the other card be?
9.
It would be a 9 then. How many cards in a row we would get?
3.
We wouldn't really make a straight. That makes it so that we know there isn't a 10 high straight, that the 9 high straight is the highest, that the 10 high didn't really work out. Let's go lower now. What's lower than a 9 high straight?
An 8 high straight.
We already have an 8 on the board. Let's see if we can make an 8 high straight. What would be the next card we would need for an 8 high straight?
7.
Is that on the board?
No.
Okay, so we must have it in our hand. What would be the next card for 8 high straight after a 7?
We don't need any other card.
We already have them in a row on the board. As you said before, from 9 to 5. What's this straight? From 8 to which card?
4.
From 8 to 4, very good. That would be the second strongest straight. would be 8 high straight here. Could we have a 7 high straight? 7 high straight means 7 is the highest card. Is there a 7 on the board?
No.
We would have to have a 7 in our hand. What would then happen if we have 7 in our hand? Would we make a 7 high straight?
No, you would make 4. We need a 3 to make.
So the 8's still on the board.
We make an 8 high straight.
It was a bit of a trick question that we can't really have a 7 high straight on this board, because if we have a 7, you're right what you were saying on 7-3. The 3 here wouldn't matter. We would still play from 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. This 3 could be anything.
I agree.
So we can't have a 7 high straight. We have a 6 high straight. We don't need a 6. 6 is on the board. What would be the next cards we would need for a 6 high straight?
We would need a 3 and an 8. Or a 6, just a 3 actually.
What's the lowest card in a 6 high straight?
It's a 2.
It's a 2, exactly. We would just need a 3. Here we would have a 6 high straight from 6 to 2. We would need a 3 in our hand. This board is extremely dangerous for straights. Every 7 is a straight. Every 3 is a straight. There's also a 9 high straight. Let's see if we can make a 5 high straight. So in general, a 5 high straight is from 5 to which card?
Yes.
Could we make a 5 high straight? What would we need for that?
No, because we are missing... Actually, we can. If we have a 3 and an ace, we could.
That would run into the same issue we had with the 7 high straight, which is the 6 is still on the board.
Yeah.
The hand would still be from 6 to deuce. It's still the best hand we can have. It would be a 6 high straight. We can't really make a 5 high straight here.
I agree.
Can we make a 4 high straight? Card would be 4 high straight from...
There's never a 4 high straight.
Very good. We covered all the straights. Let's go through them again. What was the highest straight? What whole cards?
9-7.
9-7, very good. What was the second highest straight after the 9 high straight? What is after 9 high straight?
It's not going. We cannot make a 7 high straight.
What's there between 9 and a 7?
It's an 8 high straight.
Could we make an 8 high straight?
Yes, we could.
That was our second highest straight. Which card we needed for that?
A 7.
Right. Then what you said was true about the 7 high straight, that we couldn't make 7 high straight because the 8 is like attached to that 7. Every time we try to make 7 high straight, it would already become an 8 because the 8 is there.
Yes.
What was the next highest straight then, if not 7 high straight?
It was a 6 high straight with a 3.
With a 3, very good. These were the possible straights. The 9 high, the 8 high, and 6 high here. All right, let's have another board. Are straights possible on this board?
Yeah.
Do you know which straights?
Ace to 10.
Which cards would we need for that?
Queen and a jack.
Would there be a higher or lower straight also possible? That is correct, Queen Jack. But can there also be another straight here? Maybe with the ace and a 4?
No, the 4 never played.
What if we have like a 5 and a 3? Would that make a straight with the 4?
No, there are too much cards missing. The only straight I'm thinking about is if you can make king 9. In that case, we need jack, queen still, and a 9, and we cannot. No, that's straight possible.
Good. We can only make straights where there's 2 cards missing, not 3. Let's do another one. Ooh, another fantastic board. Are there some cards close together here on this board?
Yes,
Okay.
9, the 7, and the 8.
All 3 in a row. If there's 3 in a row, it should be quite easy to make straights. You just put some cards around it. What would be the highest straight you could make here?
10 jack.
Very good. I like to call it Jack 10, but 10 Jack's also correct. It would be a straight from Jack to 7. What would be the second highest straight here?
It would be 10, 6.
Very good. Perfect. It's actually 6 cards in a row here from 10 to 5. The 5 will not play, only the 6 highest cards. What's the next highest straight after 10 high straight?
Would be 9, 5.
Very good. Which cards would we need for it?
6.
And
that's all.
That is all, exactly. We could have here anything. That's what it means. We could have it as an ace, a king, a 6, a 9. Any 6 here makes us a 9 to 5 straight. Could we have an 8 high straight?
If we get a 6 and a 4, yes.
What would happen then? Something would happen then.
It would make a 9 high straight.
Exactly. Remember that if there's exactly the stronger card next to the card you're looking, then it always makes the next strongest straight. No 8 high straights can happen because they would always make the 9 high straight instead. But 6-4 would be a good guess, and actually without a 9 it would be correct. If there was no 9, then this would be a straight. Yes, 8 high straights. They all become 9 high straights. Can there be a 7 high straight?
Same answer.
Very good, same answer. Can there be a 6 high straight?
Same answer.
So same answer. Very good. Can there be a 5 high straight?
We're just missing a 6. It would again make a 9 high straight.
Then 5 would be the lowest card, right? 5 high straight. Can there be a straight where 5 is the highest card?
No.
What if we have a 4 and a 3? Wouldn't it make a 5 high straight?
I don't think so. There's a card 2. There's only 4 cards.
Which card are we missing for a 5 high straight?
We are missing the 6. We're missing the ace. The 6 doesn't count because it would be a 9 high straight. We're missing the ace.
For a 5 high straight, we're missing the ace. Very good. One more like this, then we're gonna change it a bit. We're getting very lucky with these boards here. Perfect board for learning. Any connection here? Can we make a straight with a king? Are there any cards close to the king here?
No, they are not.
That means we cannot make a straight with a king. Some other cards, maybe we can make a straight. Are there some cards close together?
We have 3 cards close together. The
Perfect.
8, 7, 6.
The higher straight here would be what?
It would be 10 to 6.
Full cards for that would be?
A 10.
Exactly. That would make the highest straight on this board. Would it be the strongest hand on this board, or someone could have this beat? Could someone have a flush or a full house or something better?
No, it would be the strongest hand. It would be the nuts.
It would be very good. What would be the second strongest hand here?
An 8 high straight.
What's lower than a 10 high straight though?
A 9 high straight.
Would it maybe be possible? Are you sure we skip this and go to 8 high straight?
We need a 9, 5.
Good. And it would be a 9 high straight. So let's see if we can make an 8 high straight now. What would we need for that?
4 and a 5.
Good, very good. That is the third strongest hand here. What about a 7 high straight?
It would be an 8 high straight.
Go on.
I'm not sure if you can still make it, because you would need a 4 and a 5. Yes, it's possible to make it.
Okay, what about a 6 high straight?
If we have 2 and a 5, it's possible, but it would be a 7 high straight.
2 and a 5, it's missing something. 2 and a 5. 6 high straight, right? So we have to go 6 being highest, and then what's the next card we need in the straight?
It's missing a 4.
Okay, what do we change here then?
We can change the 5, but it won't work in that case.
If it's 6 high straight, we need 5 cards in a row. We need the 6, we have the 6. Then we need the next card. What would be the next card in a 6 high straight?
It would be a 5.
We need the 5. We can't take away the 5. We would need the 5. What would be the next card we would have in a 6 high straight?
A 4.
We're gonna need a 4 as well. Then what we would need, what would be the next card?
A 3.
We have the 3 on the board. So we have 6, 5, 4, 3. How many card is that?
It's 4 card.
Okay, so we would also need which card?
We also need a 3.
Have the 3. 3 is on the board.
Then we need a 2.
Yes, we would need a 2. Well, for 1, we don't really need it because we have the 7 and 8. We could already make a higher straight here. The 6 high straight would become actually not 7 high straight. What would it become?
An 8 high straight.
Exactly. There's like this transference process here that because the 7's on the board, every 6 high becomes 7 high, every 7 high becomes 8 high straight. Great. Let's switch it up here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna have a board. I want to hear from you. Well, firstly, are there straights possible?
Yes.
What would be the straight then?
It would be an 8 and a 9.
How many cards in a row would that give us?
It would give us 4. We're still missing a 10.
Going back to the question, are there straights possible?
Not now. With the turn or the river, yes.
Straight draws are possible. Right? Not straights. We can't have 5 in a row yet. We can have 4, or we can have 3 in a row. What's the best straight draw on this board? What would you want for a straight draw? What's the best hand to make a straight? Maybe you would want ace king to make a straight.
No, I don't want ace king.
Would you want queen 10? Is that a Good, best straight draw here.
It wouldn't give enough. It would only give 4 cards.
Well, how many cards in a row is this one?
It's 3 cards in a row.
That's called a backdoor straight draw, where we need 2 cards to make a straight. In general, if you're looking to make a straight, would you rather be 1 card away or 2 cards away?
1 card away.
Okay, then maybe what about 10-8? Is 10-8 1 card away?
We're missing the 9.
It is 1 card away. What straight would it give us if a 9 came?
It would give us a straight from a 10 to a 6. No, from a jack to a 7.
That's good. From a jack to a 7 here. This is a straight draw hand. My original question was, what would be the best hand to make a straight? Could you find something instead of 10-8 here that you'd rather?
If we manage to make the straight from a queen to an 8, it would be better.
What cards would we give here for
a 9?
A 9.
And a queen.
And we would be missing what?
An 8.
And what's the 5 cards in a row here? What is the straight if we're missing an 8? What straight would we make here? What's the straight?
It's a queen 8.
Okay, could you read out all the 5 cards in the straight in order?
Queen, jack, 10. We're missing the 10.
We're missing a 10. We are missing the 10. With queen 9 a straight draw, it really 8 doesn't make it a straight. It just doesn't put enough cards in a row, queen 9.
But it's possible.
Well, it's only possible if you hit both turn and the river. It's a backdoor straight draw. Going back to the question we started with, usually if straight is 5 cards, when are you closest to a straight? If you have 2 cards, if you have 3 cards in a row, when are you closest to a straight?
If I have 3 cards.
Could you be even closer to a straight than 3 cards? What's the closest you could be to a straight?
4 cards.
4 cards, then you would be 1 away.
Yes.
On this board, could you make somehow that you would have 4 cards in a row?
No.
Are there any cards close together on this board?
6 and a 7.
Could you put some cards next to it? Would that make 4 cards in a row?
We could have an 8 and a 9, or a 5 and a 4.
Which is stronger here out of those two?
8, 9.
Then we could make a straight on what?
We would make a straight with a 10. We would make a straight with a 3.
10 was correct. If we hit a 10, could you say which straight we would make with 9-8?
It would be jack to 7.
Good. The 3 was... Oh, you meant 3-4-5-4. That was fine. Actually, 9-8 can make another straight without needing even a 10. Because it's 4 cards in a row. It could go either way. It could go down.
If you make a 5, we would make a straight.
We could also make a straight on a 5. 9-8 is quite powerful in this way. It can hit both any 10s and any 5s for a straight. That's quite nice.
That's nice.
Okay, what would be the next best straight draw? I agree 9-8's the best straight draw here. What's the second best? Maybe the one you said. Go on.
You want the best straight draw.
Yes,
1 card missing.
Exactly. This is the best one. Oh, I'll help you with this. Why is
8.
not this best one? Why is not
8-5.
this one? We will talk about 8-5. First, why is this not the best one? Why is 9-8 better than 10-9? Or maybe we missed 10-9
We are missing the 8.
with 10-9.
Yes.
Why is 9-8 stronger or closer to a straight than 10-9? Why is it better for straights?
Because we can go higher and lower.
With 10-9, we can only go which way?
If we don't make the 8, then we won't make it. We need the 8. There's only
Right.
1 card that can make us that straight.
Good, that's correct actually. Actually, this is called an inside straight draw. It's missing a card that's in the middle here, whereas 9-8 is called an open-ended straight draw, where you can go both high and low. What you said about a 9-8, you said a hand 9-5. You said 8-5, sorry. Does 8-5 put 4 cards in a row?
Yes, it does.
What could we make a straight on? Which card on the...
A 9 and a 4.
Why is it considered the worse straight draw than 9-8? This also could make on 2 cards. What's worse about 8-5 compared to 9-8?
9 is a higher card.
For making straights, actually, they're equally as likely to make a straight. We would usually want the higher card. That is correct. Do you know what's the next best thing to make straights here?
If we need 2 cards instead of 1 card.
There's one more where we're 1 card. Or actually, there's even more to make 4 cards in a row.
And there are 2 cards, a 7 and a 6. We can add 2 cards higher, we can one higher, one lower, or 2 cards lower. That's all we can do.
I don't have the 2 cards lower here. What would that be? You said
it would be a 5 and a 4.
Very good. Which cards would make this a straight, the 5 and a 4?
An 8 and 3.
Yes, all these 3 are called the open-ended straight draws, where there are 4 cards in a row. That means they can make a straight either going higher or lower.
Yes.
What's the next best straight draw? We can't put any more 4 in a row. There's other ways where we would be 1 card away. Could you create a scenario how we could be 1 card away?
Didn't we do that with all those?
We might have, yes. Could you say which the best one for 1 card away?
Well, give him a 9 and make him miss it.
What would the other card be?
A 10.
Okay, I like that. 10 and a 9. This one is 1 card away. It's the 8 away, which you said. That's true. This is called an inside straight draw. It's already worse for straights than all the ones above, because it can only make a straight with 1 card, the 8, whereas the others had 2 options. What's the next one? It's going to be similar to 10-9. It's going to be a little bit weaker than 10-9.
9-8.
9-8 is a good guess, although 9-8 we already had before. Actually, 9-8 was the best straight draw, not 9-8. Something that only 1 card will help. This is all the stuff we had already. It's a bit worse than 10-9.
8-5.
We already had 8-5. These were all the open-enders. It's similar to 10-9, where it's like 1 gap. Can you create more 1 gap?
5-9.
I'm starting to like it more. What would be the gap for the 9-5?
8.
You could have this. That's a good one, actually. There's another gap, actually, that's possible here. I'll give you a hint. It's gonna be a jack high straight. What cards are in a jack high straight?
We need an 8, 9, and a 10.
What are the 3 cards missing from it?
All of them.
Well, we have the jack and the 7. The ones missing are which cards?
A 9 and a 10.
No, 5 cards in a row. We're missing 3 of them.
An 8 and a 10.
The straight being from jack to 7. You said already all the cards in it, which that would be jack, 10, 9, 8, 7. What are the 3 cards between those?
8, 9, 10.
8, 9, 10. Very good. We already have a straight 8, 9. We have 9, 10. There's another one we could have here that creates a gap and would make a straight draw for jack high straight.
7, 8. We already have that.
We don't that, not 7, 8. It's to do with those 3 cards. The 3 cards between jack and a 7. There's one of those 3 cards you haven't made a straight with. But only those 3 cards. Only think the cards between jack and a 7.
It's jack to 7. We are missing an 8 and 9.
Yeah, we have that one. What would be another example?
10, 8.
10-8, we have 10-9, we didn't have 10-8. What's 10-8 missing?
A 9.
A 9. Do you understand why I put it lower than 10-9 here? When 10-9 was missing 1.
10-9 was missing an 8.
10-8 is missing
a 9.
Why did I put them in this order? 10-9 higher than 10-8?
Because if you make a 9, you make 1 pair, it's better than to make 1 pair with an 8.
Exactly. Exactly. And in terms of making straights, they're similar. They're all inside straight draws, or also called gut shot straight draw in English. Gut shot or inside straight draw. They both mean 1 card away. 10-9 is 1 card away, but also just like 1 option for that 1 card. Same with 10-8, same with 9-5.
Yes, I agree.
There's 1 more opportunity. We found 6 possible straight draws here. There is a 7th straight draw. It's weaker than 9-5. What could this magical hand be? It's inside. Go on.
Maybe 8-4.
Wow, that came quickly and accurately. What's 8-4 missing? I like 8-4-5. Very good. I realize I missed something because we can go even 1 more. There's even 1 more we could make like this.
Can we make a 7 and a 2 or 3?
Which cards here? What would be the whole cards for that?
A 4 and a 5? We
already have
a 4 and a 3.
Very good. A 4 and a 3. I like that. Here's the thing. 4 and a 3 would be missing 1.
A 5.
A 5. Actually, there's 1 more. There's quite a few here. In total, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's going to be 9 different ways to have a 1 card away straight draw here. There's 1 more which you have a draw which is 8 high. You have a draw here which is 7 high on the board. There's one thing that's going to be a bit worse than 8-4, a bit better than 4-3.
4-7, 4-8, we already have that.
I'll give you a hint, it's going to be a 7 high straight, what it's drawing to. Which cards are in a 7 high straight?
From 3 to 7.
Okay, and which are the 3 key cards missing from that 7 high straight?
Well, we only have 7-6. So we are missing the 4, we are missing the 4 and the 3.
We already have some stuff with that. We have 5-4, we have 4-3. I'm saying there's one more way we could use those cards.
You want 3 and a 5?
That's what I want, the 3 and a 5, yes, very good. That one would be missing which card?
It would be missing a 4.
In total, there's 3 open-ended straight draws and 6 inside straight draws on this board. There's so many ways someone could have a straight. If we look at the opening range, I'll try to click on all the straight draws. Look how many of them there are. From every starting hand you could have, all these green ones would have some straight draw. That's just one card away. That would be 11% nearly. Every 9th random hand has a straight draw on that board. This is the pattern of them. A lot of straight draws, and it's all to do with the 6 and a 7, and then also with the jack a bit here. There's one more thing I want for today, which is not going to be as long as this one, which will be this. I'll make the board like, I have to reset it. What do I want as a board? I'll put it as 8. I made it easier by putting the cards in order. It's tougher if they're like other order here. Maybe not, depends on the person. Can you find the strongest straight draw on this board? I guess firstly what you could ask yourself is, are there any 2 cards close together on this board?
No.
Is there any 1 gap on this board?
No.
Is there any 2 gap on this board?
Yes.
Great. We can start making straights with the 2 gap. How many 2 gaps on this board?
2.
Great. The easiest way to have a straight draw is to just tell the cards for the 2 gap. What would be the stronger cards, higher cards for that 2 gap?
It would be 9 and a 10.
All right, I'll put them in order here. Yes, essentially true. That gives 4 cards in a row and is the best straight draw on this board. What would be the second 4 cards in a row we can make with a 2 gap?
If we get a 6 and a 7.
6 and a 7 or 7 and a 6 here. Exactly. That would make a straight draw, which would put 4 cards in a row from 8 to 5. Something cool. There's a powerful straight draw we can make here, which is as strong as 4 cards in a row, even though it's not 4 cards in a row. It's called a double inside straight draw or a double gut shot. It's as good as this one. Remember, inside straight draw, for example, was something like 7-4 here. What's 7-4 missing?
Missing a 6.
Exactly. That's an inside straight draw. Usually, these are weaker than the 4 cards in a row, like 10-9 or 7-6. Because 10-9 could go higher or lower. 7-6 can go higher or lower. There is an inside straight draw on this board, like 7-4, that actually also can go 2 ways and is as powerful as the 4 cards in a row. Do you have a guess what it could be?
I don't know.
Then let's do 3 random guesses. After each one, I'll give you a hint.
I know what you want. We have a lot of straights already.
I changed the board, new straights, found the 4 cards in a row straights. There's something that's the second best straight on this board that's as good as 4 cards in a row, even though it's not 4 cards in. It's a special one. It's a double inside draw.
I don't know what it is.
Well, I'll give you an example. What would be an inside draw? 9-7 is an inside draw. What's 9-7 missing?
Maybe a 6 and a 10.
Exactly. If you think about a moment, what is special about 9-7? It has 2 options. It can go high, it can go low. Even though it's just 3 cards in a row. It's from 9-8-7 because the jack and 5 are just close enough. It's actually as powerful of a straight draw as these are. This one is like a double inside straight draw. Very good straight draw to have. I see that you're a bit tired today. I realize you're not a big fan of the straights in poker, although I feel like you're getting much better at it, but there's a lot of different straights. It's quite tough to find all them. Or what's your reflection on it?
My reflection is that unless you are facing 5 cards, it's not so dangerous. Unless there are already 5 cards on the board, it's not so dangerous. If it's less, then it should be obvious, because they should be close together. If on the flop there are 3 cards close together, then it's dangerous. There are 2 cards close together, it's a little less dangerous. Until we see the turn and the river, the probability is not so high. Of course, when we see the turn and the river, then the probability gets much higher. That's why we did find every time a straight, because you showed 5 cards. If you show 5 cards on the board, then it's easy to make a straight. Normally people give up before they see the river.
Well, I don't think they give up if they have 4 cards in a row, though. Do you give up with 4 cards in a row?
Normally I don't know. Sometimes I do. If it's a bomb popped, because there are too many opponents, I might not have the highest straight.
Maybe if you're going for a low straight there, but actually it could be a good time to make a straight. Why could it be a good time? Because then someone might have like 2 pair if there's many players in a bomb pot. Sometimes it's good bomb pots, but also there's more danger, the higher straights or flushes, full houses. The general rule...
With what you showed, it seems like you get a straight every time. It's not that frequent. You do not get the straight every time. Yes, it's a little more frequent than getting a flush. Both of them don't happen constantly. They happen every 10th card or something like this, but not constant.
What I'm trying to teach you is actually not that necessarily that there's always going to be a straight. More that I want you to see the potential of straights. I want you to see if a straight completes. If some card comes on turn or river, that they could make a straight. If either had 4 cards in a row and 8 make them a straight, then if a queen comes or if an 8 comes, they suddenly go all, that it doesn't come such as a surprise then, that you already saw that the possibility was there.
I have the odds calculator. It will tell me what card I'm missing to make a straight. So it will give me some outs for that card. But it cannot tell me what card my opponent is missing because he doesn't know the cards of my opponent.
Well, 2 things there. Why is it important? Let's say you have a straight and you have the highest straight and there's no flushes or full houses possible. You have the nuts, then you would want to then go all in. It's good for you if you know how to find flushes, because then you can be more cautious. If flushes are possible, maybe there's 4 hearts on the board, it would be good enough to know that maybe your straight is not so good if there's flushes possible.
Yeah.
Right? If the board is paired, so there's like 2 6s on it, or even 3 6s, you would be more worried about a full house, hopefully. The general rule is for straights, you want to be careful if there's flushes possible, and full houses, which full houses are possible when board becomes paired. Why finding straights is important is, let's say you have 3 of a kind. You have aces, the board has an ace. If there's nothing else better possible, that could be the nuts then. It could be a board where 3 aces is the nuts. You have 2 aces, 1 ace on the board. Sometimes it's not true. Sometimes a straight is possible, like a queen jack, for example, or some 6 7 is on the board, 8 9 makes a straight with a 10. The difference is if you don't find that straight, you might think your aces is the nuts, even though there could be many straights possible.
Yes, if you fold 3 of a kind with an ace, there's not many situations where you should do that.
Well, you say that. Let's say it's early level, full pot, many players there. You have a 3 of a kind, looks good. Someone really raises you all in. You make big bets, they're not scared, they raise all in. Well, what do they do that with? At that point, you have to start asking yourself, and everything that beats your hand makes it more dangerous. If nothing beats your aces, then you should be very happy to go all in. If there's one straight that beats your aces, That's not very dangerous. But what if there's 6 straights that beat your aces and also a different flushes?
It's more dangerous.
How much stuff that beats your... It's basically how far you are from nuts. You can only know that if you find all those possibilities on the board. If you find all the full houses, all the straights, all the flushes.
I agree. The more things they can beat me with, the more dangerous it is.
But I mean, from your perspective,
My
you
odds
have to
calculator
be able to locate them. Right?
my odds calculator tells me if I have the nuts. He says I do not have the nuts, then I don't have the nuts. Somebody else
But there's
beat me.
only one thing that beats you. That's 5-3. Then it's not very dangerous. There can
Right.
be a scenario where only 5-3 beats you and everything else you have second nut. Or there can be a scenario where 5-4 beats you, 5-8 beats you, 8-9 beats you, ace high flush beats you, king high flush beats you, queen high flush beats you, jack high flush. It's like a radar in military. You want to be able to detect as many things possible there.
I agree.
You're getting better at that. We'll take some break from finding straights. We might not do it all time. Next time, I will see how good you are at finding flushes and full houses. That should be easier. That's easier to find a flush or a full.
Yeah,
We'll
we
see.
can do that.
Good.
Great, Norman.
You hanged in there. You did the whole lesson, even though you were tired. You can be proud of that.
I'm gonna go for a sleep very soon.
And what do you dream about usually when you sleep?
Sometimes strange stuff. I don't remember anything recent. What do you dream about?
I remember my dreams almost every day, but I usually forget them. I don't write them down. In the morning, if I wake up, I usually remember what I just saw in my dream.
If you ask me just when I wake up, I probably could tell you. Afterwards, I forget. Do you remember one of your dreams?
I do.
Which one was interesting?
I wouldn't say my dreams are actually usually very interesting. Most of my dreams are when I'm just in school. Just in school, I'm just either taking a class or something. Like today, I was late to a class. I remember my physics teacher was there. Then I wrestled with one of my classmates, like a classmate from middle school. I wrestled with him in the dream. Maybe we played some football as well, something like that. Maybe there was a PE class or something. I have a lot of dreams like that. I don't know why exactly. Many of my dreams are when I'm in school or taking an exam, either in high school, middle school, something like that. A lot of that. It's almost never something special, or like sometimes people have like they fly or something crazy or scary happens. My dreams are just like I'm in school and there's some kids and we're either talking or studying or stuff like that. That's all. Very boring dream.
Well, I don't think they're actually really boring. If they would be very boring, I'm not sure that you would have them. Normally there's something interesting about them. If not, I don't know why your brain would generate them.
Maybe I fell on my head. I just made all the dreams to be about school.
Oh,
Not all
but
of them.
when you're in a dream, it seems somehow real or interesting, doesn't it? When you talk about school, the guys you meet, or football, it seems interesting. You are engaged in it, aren't you? It's not like a lesson about a subject you are not interested in and you start daydreaming. You're all in your dream. You are in the moment. When you're in the moment, that's interesting somehow. Do you realize that you're dreaming when you dream?
Usually not, no. Very rare. Do you often have that where you realize you're in a dream?
I often have it. Also something strange. If I lie down on my back with my head facing up, often the first dream that I get is quite vivid and I start moving. Because I move and I react to the dream, I wake up. If I sleep on my stomach, I don't have that. I still get the dream, but I don't move or I don't wake up. If I lie on my back, I'm more easily pulled out of the dream. Often I make a movement. That movement wakes me up.
Interesting. You're disturbing your own sleep.
Yeah, because I move, but only when I lie on my back. That's a strange thing. I lie on my stomach, it doesn't do that. I don't know why.
My sister's dog, when the dog sleeps, it sometimes moves its paws. You can see it's running in the sleep.
And there are people who are asleep.
I was as a kid, and I also had many scary dreams then.
It can be quite dangerous, because you can break something or hurt yourself when you sleepwalk.
I haven't had that ever since I was a kid. My dreams are either school or with relatives. It's often just being like home or where my grandparents are, but also nothing interesting usually. It's just like I'm there.
If it captivates, it is interesting. Normally you are engaged with it. According to me, that is the definition of interesting. There are dreams you don't like to have. That's a little annoying. Apart from that, it's nice to get pulled in a different world. In a world with different rules than the one we live in. It's like if reality gets bent when you're in a dream. Sometimes I can even do stuff that I wouldn't be able to do in real life. Not a lot. I don't focus on it. I don't train it. It's quite nice when reality shifts. When you're sometimes sitting in a classroom, then a moment later you are in a park. You didn't see any of the transition. You just switch from one scene to the next. Like if you can move through time and space. Do you hear a lot of people talking in your dreams? Or if they talk, they say just a couple of words. It's more meaningful than actually a discussion.
Interesting. I would think there's talking. I usually don't remember too much of that. It's quite silent. How is it for you?
The discussions aren't detailed as we have. They're more subjective. They indicate something when I hear something. Normally, it is not more than one sentence or 2 or 3 sentences maximum. Mostly a couple of words only. Those words have some meaning or somehow are interesting because I think about them when I dream. It's not indifferent. It's not like sitting in a bus where you hear stuff that you don't care about. What people in your dream say has some meaning, according to me. It is not very lengthy. It's not a book or an entire page or an entire expo. It's just a couple of words mostly, or 1 or 2 sentences. For me at least. Maybe for you it's different.
Usually it's like that. There's been some longer discussions.
The thing we don't agree on is that you think it's boring. I think it's interesting when the rules of reality change. That is interesting. I don't understand it unless I focus on it straight when I wake up, then I forget everything about it. But I find it interesting when the rules of reality change. The transitions are not the same. The people act a little different. There are a lot of emotions involved in
I think you gave me an idea. The reason why my brain likes these dreams where I'm just like with my relatives or in school is these are the times when, at least for my subconscious, the life is the easiest. Because in school, you were like a sheep in a group of sheep, or like a fish in a flock of fish. That's what my subconscious likes about it, that you don't have to think about where you have to go, what you have to do in these scenarios. It was always, the decision was made for you. You lose freedom, but it's also something very peaceful about it, where you know exactly I have to go there, then I have this exam. Even if I don't like it, it's still easier some way than to make a conscious decision or the choice. That's maybe why I have these dreams. What do you think of this theory?
You don't need discipline when you're in school because they tell you what to do, as you said. For me, it was extreme. In the morning, we had breakfast. We all did wake up at the same time. A teacher came into our room, did wake us up. Then we had 1 hour to take our breakfast all together. Then the classes started. Midday, there was 1 more meal, 1 or 2 hour more lessons. Then we had sports. Then we studied. Before our meal in the evening, we had a study lesson for 1 or 2 hours. After that, we had to learn. We could play a little. At the same time, everybody goes to bed. The next morning, everything starts again. Every minute of your life is planned out. You don't need any discipline. They tell you what to do. If you don't go, they come. If you don't wake up, if you don't stand up, they will make sure you up. They will punish you for it. We had fitness at 6 o'clock in the morning. We had to go run if we did something bad. Normally we stand up at 7, but if we did something bad, if we misbehaved, then we had to stand up at 6 and run around the football field like 5 or 10 times. The teacher said how many times we had to run around it. Everything is planned. It's like the army. You do what they tell you. You don't really need discipline. Once your parents or the school system doesn't take care of you, then you need discipline up to a certain extent. I don't have to wake up every day at the same time. If I just let myself do what I want, like play video games or watch stupid movies, then it will hurt me. I realize that I still need some discipline. For me, it's not hard to have discipline if it is just for the things I like to do, because I want to do them more. It's not really hard.
You know what I find interesting? That in your school, this running was a punishment, although this could be a reward. Children like to move around. You could think it's like a...
But more children like to sleep. Already waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning is hard. If you have to wake up 1 hour earlier than that, it's even harder. You get punished because you cannot stay in bed. You really want to sleep, especially just before you wake up. Then you really want to sleep. If they cut 1 hour from your sleep away, that punishes you. It's not just that you have to go run. It's that you sleep less. The thing with sleep is you need more sleep when you are younger. Once you age, you require less sleep. It's a punishment because you can't sleep.
I get that. The other thing might be like this community aspect, because I never had any brothers, for example. The social aspect is nice. What you said is maybe I need that. Maybe I feel like maybe I have to plan also my days. That's the paradox, right? If I planned my everyday like in school, I don't know if I would enjoy it or would be happy with it. But if it's forced, I guess it's right. It's way easy to be disciplined this way. I have to think about it. Maybe I have to set stricter schedule for myself. I don't know.
We want always what we don't have. When we can decide what we do all day long, then we want structure, somebody telling us what to do. And once we have somebody who tells us what to do, then we want the opposite. We want freedom, being able to do nothing or do whatever pleases us. We always want the opposite. It's the same with if you have a lot of people around you, you just want to be left alone. You just want to have some peace, some solitude. When the solitude gets extreme, then you desire meeting people and having a chat, talking to somebody, even if you don't know that person. A strange thing happened to me. I went pick up some food. It was a buffet. I could choose whatever I want. Next to me, she was Indian, a girl. She did something really strange. Before taking her food, she could just pick whatever she wants, as much as she wants. Before picking her food, she always asked me if I would like something. It was strange because she could just take, like 3 or 4 times she asked me if I would like some more of this or some more of that. There was, for example, some sushi. There were some sushis. There were not much left. She also asked if I want some. There were just 9 sushis left. I said, take half, I take the rest. I never tried sushi, so let me try. She did the same when it was full. There was more than enough. There was more than enough for both of us. She still asked. It was like a cultural thing. I had the impression that in her household or where she comes from, it is polite to let the man eat before the woman eats. Sometimes it's the case. The woman cannot eat at the same place, or they can only eat once the men have eaten. It was really strange. Then once she picked all her food, she wished me a pleasant evening. I was really surprised because I didn't understand why she's asking me 5 times if I want some more. Why she was so interested and polite with me, even if she didn't know me. The strange thing is, I actually regretted that I didn't have a longer chat with her, because I was surprised of her politeness and her respect. Normally it's not like this. Everybody's just in his head. Everybody thinks about the person next to him. That surprised me. I don't know that person. It's not like if she was strikingly beautiful. So I didn't have any feelings. Just because she kept interacting with me and asking me polite questions and wishing me a pleasant evening, I thought, well, that's uncommon. You get that so rarely. I should have invited her for a drink or tried to extend the conversation with her. You always want what you don't have. If I know that girl, if I talk to her on a consistent basis, the only thing I probably would desire is that she doesn't go on my nerves. Because I didn't know her and it was uncommon, I had the feeling like 15 minutes or during 30 minutes that I should have extended the conversation. We always want what we don't have. In that case, it was that girl who started interacting with me. What do you think about that, Norman? Do you think it was a cultural thing, or do you think she just was interested in me for some stupid reason? Because I wear a tie or I speak French?
Maybe it could be both. Maybe it makes some sense culturally that if men have like less time, especially if, let's say, the woman is someone who's at home, man is just home for some time, or they had a long time at work, then maybe it makes sense that they eat first, because women can eat throughout the day or eat anytime, even when they're cooking. Maybe there could be some cultural thing there that someone who needs to eat immediately is more hungry gets to eat first. It's two ways here. One is when you get the plate, you start eating because it's still warm. That's one culture. Then the other culture is you wait until everyone gets their food and start eating then. That's more like the polite version. Depending on the person, both are used. But
You don't wait until everybody has their food on the table before you start eating?
depends, not always. Sometimes it's recommended to eat when the food's still hot. Let's say there's a lot of people and it takes a lot of time, then it could be 5 minutes before you can start eating, then the food might already be cold.
Yeah, but if you could choose, you would wait, wouldn't you?
I
What you're talking
agree,
about seems to me like a technical issue. It's just it takes too much time to put the food on every plate. If there are 10 people around, then the first guy who got the food, it would be cold. I understand that, but that's a technical issue. If that technical issue wouldn't exist because you're just 2 or 3 people around the table and it's easy to put enough food, then you all would wait and start at the same
Yeah.
moment, don't you?
Most people would, but I guess not everyone. Some people don't think about that. In many families, the children just don't have to wait for their parents. They're not taught that. When they're adults, they're not conscious about that if they didn't have to wait as a child. Usually I try to wait. It's nicer that way. Everyone feels included in this way. I agree, yes.
There are different rules regarding that. It makes me think about something I saw. It was an American or European who went to Japan. She bought something in a shop, then she started eating it while she was walking out of the shop. An old woman considered that being really rude because apparently in Japan it is considered rude if you walk and eat at the same time. All those things might be true. With time, they all fade away. All the cultures fade away. Even in Arabic countries where women eat on a different table than men, in some places that's still the case. That also disappears with time. All those cultures, they somehow cannot survive in the modern world.
The culture only stays if it has use, if it's something that has a purpose. Yes, a lot of stuff will fade. There's things that used to have a purpose or customs. People just do what their ancestors did without there being the reason for it anymore. These things tend to fade. Sometimes they take a long time because people copy their parents even if they don't know why they're doing what they're doing.
I don't think it's just that. The issue is that we have everywhere McDonald's, Coca-Cola, everywhere you find the same shops, everywhere they give you the same stuff. Doesn't matter if you're in Japan, South Korea, Africa, or somewhere else. I saw in Alaska, there are still some tribes who live quite ancestral way. They chase wildlife, moose, a lot of aquatic animals. One thing they did is they took, for example, meat from, it was mostly from aquatic animals, and they put it in an ice cream, and they made that ice cream. They eat that ice cream even when it's cold. All that will disappear with time. Because why go hunt if you can just buy an ice cream everywhere around you? It's just more easy. You won't make that ancestral ice cream anymore. Since it's just a small population, I'm not sure that it is commercial viable. Most people are not interested in eating ice cream with fish in it. It will disappear. All cultures tend to go in the same direction because there's too much influence from media, big corporation who try to make us all behave the same way. Don't you think so?
It looks that way.
You saw a different reason for that. You thought that the ancient way of living just obsolete and make no more sense, and because of that they disappear. Isn't that your argument?
It's the same argument. Let's say you have a traditional way of cooking that gets forgotten if you eat McDonald's. It's related to it. Back in the day, people had reasons for, if you were in Africa, you needed to have a different culture there to survive there than to survive somewhere like in Norway, for example, where you're hunting like seals, whales, and going fishing there, and it's very cold and winters. That's a completely different set of habits, all these things you need to live there than to live in Japan or Africa or deep in a forest. It matters less if you're not engaged with your environment in this way, because the environment is online, it's McDonald's, it's a supermarket, it's all the same environment. And if you see a street, a supermarket, it could be in Norway, it's probably going to be very similar. If not already, it's going to be more similar each year. The stuff you can buy in every store in the world you go, you get Coca-Cola there. You get some same Toblerone, Switzerland chocolate every place in the world. Then you forget about where you're from and what you are. It's less relevant. It's connected with that.
When I was taking food from that buffet where I can choose as much as I realized that all the foods we have created, the basic elements aren't so expensive. But putting them all together and making it tasteful makes it hard and difficult. We never like simple stuff. Sushi is an example for that. You have to cook the rice, you have to cook the meat, the fish, you have to put that all together, and then you have to give a sauce that also has to be cooked especially, and all that to make it pleasant. The basic is the same, it's just rice, it's just some fish. They have found a way to make it really complicated, labor intensive. We never like simple.
It's called the nori leaf. It's made from dried seaweed that it's made from.
Exactly. That's it.
All these things made sense because that's
for example, the nori leaf. For example, that's just something they realized they can eat and found close to the sea. But we elaborate it and make a huge deal out of it instead of just picking up and eating it and filling our stomach. Nori sheet.
It's just in my language, it would be like the same word like a leaf, like a tree leaf, but it's a sheet in English.
Nori sheet. Very interesting. Thank you for telling me that. It's like an apple. We find a lot of ways of eating an apple, cooking it, putting some sugar around it, taking out the pepins in the middle. The grains in the middle. We take away the skin it has. We make everything much more complicated. While food is just there to sustain us, just so that we aren't hungry. Our stomach doesn't really care how much labor and effort goes into it. It just wants to be filled.
It's from boredom. All the animals just eat what they eat.
Exactly.
We just do it for fun. There's some reasons, like salt, for example, was used because food started to expire. If you didn't have fresh food, then you had to prepare it with salt. Then it became a thing, although it had a purpose at first. Some stuff people do to make it special or like the combination of these tastes. It doesn't have any function other than the joy, just to make life more fun for ourselves. We create these things.
But we make our life much more hard if we always chase the difficult stuff, if you don't like the simple stuff. Norman, I don't know if I told you, but do you know what Christmas actually is?
Like the birth of Christ, you mean?
I haven't told you what it really is.
Well, then.
I thought that maybe we talked about it. Christmas was a pagan feast. It's called Yule. If I'm not mistaken, it's spelled Y-U-L-E. Yule. It existed because winter was coming. It is the solstice. It's the day when there's the least amount of sun. People didn't have enough grains to keep all the animals during the entire winter. They decided to make a huge feast to kill the animals. Everybody eats as much as he can, drinks as much as he can on that day. The king with the popes just decided to put the birth of Christ on that day because it was convenient. They decided not to stop the feast, to blend it with Christianity. That's why you still burn some wood in a fireplace, because one of the tradition at that time was to burn a big part of the tree. The longer the fire would last, the better the next season would be. It was a pagan feast. They lied. They said it was the birth of Christ, which isn't the case. He saw the light of day a day in August, certainly not the 20th of December. It was Yule, that pagan feast. They used salt to preserve the meat. Even with that, it would have been difficult to preserve so much meat. They just made a feast and everybody drinks and eats as much as he can on that day. That's what it really was. I found that interesting.
We celebrate summer solstice here as well. It does make sense from traditional pagan perspective to have a holiday on the darkest night of the year. It's an example of how some things can stay long in the culture, even though there's no meaning behind it, the original meaning. people can still hold on to their original culture. Even with the McDonald's and the globalism, there can still be stuff that people hold on to, even though it's not necessary anymore to have this big eating holiday during the winter.
We still do the same. We just have forgotten the reason why we do it, which in my opinion is quite sad. We put a lot of kitsch. Santa Claus coming from the roof. We put some decoration on a tree. A lot of kitsch, which has nothing to do with Jesus. We forgot the real meaning of the event, the reason for its existence.
There's new meaning of sharing happiness with people, making gifts to each other. Meaning can change in time.
For me, it only has meaning if it's philosophical. I found the reason for Yule, that it is the day where we have the least amount of sunlight. Then January and February will be very cold. Already December is. We cannot keep all that meat. Let's eat it before the animals die. It would go to waste. That has more meaning to me. To take a huge log, that's what it's called, a log of a tree. To take a huge log of a tree, burn it, then think that it has some connection with the next season. If it will be warm, it will be good for agriculture or not. That, of course, is a little superstition. A lot of those fast vegan medicines did make a lot of sense. It's really sad that Christianity did ban them or make them disappear because nobody remembers. Most people have never heard about Yule, the things I'm talking about. That's a little sad. I only find meaning in philosophic subjects. If you can tell me why making a present to your kid, your wife, or whoever on a special day has some philosophical meaning, then yes, it's very hard to do that. Because the best you can come up is to show your love. I don't think that you need a special day, a present to show your love. I'm not against giving presents. I'm just not sure that you have to do it on that day.
Well, better that day than no day. I get your point. I feel like a lot of meaning gets corrupted. People lose a lot of meaning. Sometimes it's related to the invention of writing, which sounds counterintuitive. It's like there's all the knowledge in the world is in books, in all those libraries. The problem is there's very few people who are actually taking the time to educate themselves in that. Back in the day, where there was no books, of my pagan ancestors as well, what they did is they had just a lot of stories, a lot of songs through their whole life from their parents. If there was a very old story, many generations, all those people, they would actually tell these stories to each other during meetings. It was like more of a live culture in this way. If a story was valuable, you had to put effort to memorize it. A story is valuable. Let's put it somewhere in the back of the library where very few people will ever see or hear it.
That's really interesting because that's sad. We have so much interesting stuff around us and people just don't want to look at it. They consume just brain rot, stuff that dumps them down. That makes me think about the movie you recommended, which I watched, which was interesting. I didn't like the movie. I don't think it's a good movie. It was funny and interesting. Idiocracy. I didn't have time to watch the Estonian movie. It makes me think about idiocracy. There's so much interesting content around us. We, on purpose, reject it. Only choose stuff that has no meaning in it.
It is what it is.
My internet shows is fine, but I don't hear you.
It actually shows.
Anyways,
internet.
Still same issue. You can put your video back. I don't know what's going on. Maybe we just have to log out, log in. We did long. We can just stop. Can I just see your face again? You say bye-bye?
Do you hear me?
I did hear, do you hear? We can just call it a day. You have to go. I did get that. Let's call it a day, Norman. It was really nice having a chat with you, talking, and thanks a lot for the time and patience you had to talk so long about straits. See you next week. Bye-bye.